Ontario's housing minister introduced legislation today to return land in Ontario's protected Greenbelt that his government had previously removed for housing. Paul Calandra spoke at a news conference this afternoon. He said the goal for future changes to the land is to make sure, quote, politics is taken out of the review process.
We undertook a process or a public policy decision that clearly was not supported by the people of the province of Ontario. The process was not supported. The Premier has been clear that that was not an appropriate process. Underlying that was our desire to make progress on building 1.5 million homes, but we are listening. We are ensuring that that going forward, that any process with respect to the Greenbelt is done in the most public and open fashion that we can provide through the Legislative Assembly, which would require passage of a piece of legislation through the legislature.
The plan is a big reversal from what the Ontario government had originally intended for the Greenbelt. The CBC's Stephanie Skandaris has more on the proposed legislation.
It's a continuation of that reversal that we started hearing from Premier Doug Ford a little earlier. But this is where Minister Paul Calandra says that he wants to correct what he calls a mistake in process. So let's dive a little further into what exactly is in this legislation. It's to return these parcels of land back to the Greenbelt. It's to strengthen the protection of the Greenbelt by defining its boundaries in law, so codifying its boundaries. And it says that it ensures that any future boundary changes can only be made through a public and transparent process that would require the approval of the legislature. It also says at the same time that it's restoring these properties, the government is proposing to keep the 3,800 hectares in the Greenbelt that were added in 2022. Calandra also saying that all 15 recommendations from the Auditor General are being put into practice. Now, is this legislation really necessary? He took a lot of, strong questions on this. Is it actually a necessary process to put the lands back in the Greenbelt? Not necessarily. It could have been done by rescinding the cabinet order that led to them being removed in the first place. But it seems that one of the main goals here, and this is something that he was questioned on and something that came up a lot, is that this is really a move to put out the political fire around this, to borrow a phrase from my colleague Mike Crawley, who covered this story quite extensively. Calandra said that, he was asked if he wants to close the Greenbelt chapter by proposing this legislation. He said he'd be lying if he said no. Now, will it actually achieve that goal? Not really clear. We know that this is still under investigation from the RCMP, and Calandra said there hasn't actually been a meeting with the RCMP on this as of yet.
The CBC's Stephanie Skandaris.